Northeast India and Myanmar. How British divided tribes. Date 24th February 1826. Three English officers, General Archibald Campbell, Thomas Campbell Robertson, and Henry Deuce Chadd, are waiting for two royal representatives, Men Kwan Ten and La Tua Ha Tua Twen, for a very important event. The event is a signing of a treaty. The two royal representatives were from Ava, the capital of the Konbaung dynasty in Burma. As the representatives agree to the terms of the treaty, a new chapter in politics begins, changing the fate of Northeast India. What is this treaty? This treaty is the famous Yandabu Treaty, named after the place where it was signed. This treaty was the result of a very interesting case of power struggle. In the decade of 1820s, the Burmese under the Konbaung dynasty began military expedition towards their northwest. They captured areas like Manipur, Kasar, Jaintia Hills and Assam. This expedition irked the British East India Company, who had stationed themselves at Chittagong and was eyeing the lucrative resources in Assam, Manipur and other adjoining areas. But a Burmese contingent captured the Shapuri Island near Chittagong, which fueled the fire. As retaliation, the Governor-General of Bengal, Lord Amherst, declared a war on the Burmese force on 5th March 1824, leading to loss of Burmese army and signing of Yandabu Treaty. What happened after the treaty? If you look at the map of India-Myanmar today, you will find a long stretch of ranges called the Arakan. It forms the border with present-day Bangladesh. However, you will also see long Patkai ranges forming the border between India and Myanmar. But in 1826, when Treaty of Yandabu was signed, the politics of these areas changed forever. In the Arakan Valley, Britishers took over three important areas, Ramri, Sheduba and Sandoe, while in the Patkai Valley, they took over Manipur, Assam, Kasar and Jaintia Hills from the Burmese. These areas expanded the scope of British capitalism as it was filled with resources. But there was a problem, the problem of ethnicities. The Arakan Valley consisted mainly of the Rakhine following Buddhism and the Rohingya following Islam. The majority Rakhine Buddhists were anti-colonial, and therefore the Britishers started favoring the minority Muslims for administrative purpose. By the end of 1885, when whole of Burma was annexed, they encouraged migration of Bengali speakers into Burma, which gave rise to resentment in the minds of local people, and the consequence of which we can witness today as Myanmar undergoes the dream of ethnic cleansing. But what policy did they take in the Patkai Valley? Let's find out. Burma's annexation and Northeast. By 1886, Burma was made a complete British province, and the Patkai ranges in India's northeast became a hodgepodge of colonial administration. But the Britishers found a very complicated problem to deal with, that is, the tribes. The region was so diverse that the British themselves often got confused with multitude tribes, culture, language, and the ethnicities. Moreover, these areas were ruled by chieftains and had their own local law that Britishers found it hard to codify. The Britishers wanted to create a buffer between China and British India by consolidating the tribal areas in the Patkai into a single administrative unit, but unfortunately, they failed. So, by end of 1930s, the Britishers decided that it would be more beneficial to administer these areas if Burma could be separated from British India. This idea of separation was fancied by Britishers but left a forever impact on the tribal areas. The Patkai ranges consisted of many tribes like the Mizos, Nagas, Shans, Kukis and many. An artificial separation line was drawn to demarcate boundaries between British India and Burma, which separated these tribes too into two distinct boundaries by 1937. Impact from 1937 to present day. Many tribal populations who have resided in India-Myanmar border long before British separation have now been stranded as refugees. For example, the Mizo tribe in Mizoram have hosted nearly 40,000 refugees from Myanmar. For them, they are their distant relatives who have fled from being hunted down by the military rule in Myanmar. But opposite, the Kuki-Shin tribes of Manipur do not hold the same view. Some Kuki already form a part of Manipur. However, some Kuki form a part of Myanmar but have fled in fear of persecution from Myanmar into Manipur. This has formed a basis of recent Manipur clash. Like Mizo, the Nagas too share a close connection between borders. They view themselves as one, only to be divided by an imaginary line. Conclusion: India and Myanmar share a 1600-kilometer long boundary. But this boundary is bleeding today, dividing relatives and harboring political problems.